Hi everyone and welcome back. Okay, so I've got a review and a comparison for you today of the Frazer Price palette box. Now the reason that I've got two here is one of them is the new version and this one here is one of the original versions made in the 1980s. They both come in these nice little boxes. The new version has a lift-off lid and there's a leaflet in there and everything, and the original version has a hinged lid on the back there. But they're very similar, almost identical in the way that they've been made. You'll probably notice, I don't know if the reflection's a bit bad because these are very highly polished and you know they're sort of glaring a little bit, but the original version is a little bit more ornate. It's got more engraving around the edge there, whereas the newer version hasn't got that. There was another original version of this that didn't have the engraving around the top, but it had a little nameplate in the corner instead, so you could engrave your initials in there if you wanted to. Now the original one was made, like I say, in the 1980s. I think about 5,000 of them were sold worldwide, and then around about the mid-90s they went out of production, they stopped making them, and they've just started making them again in this last year, and they're on sale at Jackson's, Ken Bromley's and a few other places I think online. I'll leave a link to Jackson's for the new version if you want to have a look at it. I'll leave that in the description below. So yeah, only 5,000 of these were made, so they're quite rare, quite collectible, quite sought after. Second-hand versions of them on eBay sell for quite a bit of money these days. So the new one might be a good option for you. There are other differences which we'll get into later on into the video, but I just wanted to give you a quick look at the general overall package that you'll get. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll open the new one up and we'll have a look at it, and then we'll open the original one up and we'll compare them both to see what the differences are. Is there anything different with the quality of them or any design faults or anything like that? We'll check all of that out and have a good look. Okay, so I'll just move this one out of the way and we'll open up the new one. Right, okay, so this opens up with a clasp that's on the side here. You just turn that like that. The top flips open and you can put that clasp down so it actually acts as a stand so that this sits nice and flush. Okay, and we've got the mixing areas either side here and the thumb ring just there, and that opens up to reveal the little double water carrier there. This lid pops off, so if you wanted to use larger brushes in there you could do. We've got a water bottle in there. It carries plenty of water. I think you can fill that about 2 times with this, and also you've got mixing area on top there. Now when I bought the original one, I actually contacted Frazer Price via email. This was 10 years ago actually, and luckily he had a couple left and he sold me one, and we had a good old chat on the email, and he was telling me all about the box and he explained the idea behind this design, and he told me that he used to do a lot of travelling on trains, planes, that kind of thing, and used to like to sit and paint, if he was on a long journey on a train for example, and he always used to find that his water pot, the rattling of the train carriages and everything is water potted, kind of slosh water over the sides and everything. So he came up with this design of actually putting a lid on a little water holder like that, so that as that's kind of moving around the water's not splashing everywhere. So I thought that was a really clever idea. All of this lifts out, as you've just seen there. This lifts out as well. I'm not going to do it because all the pans will slide out if I do, but this lifts out and you can just slide the pans in to these grooves. I'll show you better on the original version because that hasn't got any pans in there. Now what I really do like about this box is this thumb ring here, because what happens is this, as you can see, it's kind of loose. And that's on purpose, so that when you put your thumb through, you can have this at any position you like. So it's never digging into your hand, so if you want to kind of move or adjust the angle a little bit, This moves up and down with you, kind of works with you and not against you, and it always stays nice and comfortable in the hand, you know, when you're working with it. But when you're using it on a desk, obviously that tilts down. You might want to prop that up with something if you want to use that palette area there. I don't know, a little half pan or whole pan or something on its side might be about the right height for that. Just something under there so that you could use that while it's sitting on your desk. But apart from that, it really is a really nice design, really comfortable to hold. It's lightweight as well. You'd think being brass, well actually this isn't solid brass. The original ones are solid brass. The new ones are actually plated brass, but they're about the same weight as the original ones, nice and light. You know, I'd have no problem in holding this all day and painting with it. You know, even if it's full of water, it's really not that heavy. And there is a little bit of a trick actually with filling the pans up here, because it's originally designed to hold 18 half pans or 9 whole pans. But as you can see there, I've got 9 whole pans and 3 half pans. Some pans are a little bit smaller than others. I don't know if you've found that with some manufacturers' paints or some of the generic pans that you can buy online. Some of them are quite small. My whole pans are quite small, but the half pans are quite big. But if you use the original Winsor & Newton half pans, they're quite small. And you can actually squeeze, you know, an extra row of paint in there if you go for all, you know, of the smaller type pans. Not necessarily half pans, but, you know, the smaller type whole pans as well as the half pans. You can kind of cram a lot more paint in there. Okay, so let's bring the original one in and we'll do a side-by-side comparison. Okay, so as you can see, there's very little difference. One of the first things you'll notice is the finish on the palettes. This is actually a glossy finish on the original and sort of a matte finish on the new version. And you can see here this lift-out tray to put your pans in. When it comes out, it's got these sliding trays here. The new version doesn't come with these sliding trays that you can take completely out. That's okay. I mean, like I say, you can fit the pans in there on their own, which is, you know, how this box is intended to be used. But with the older version, you know, you can actually squeeze paint directly into these trays and use it like that, or take the trays out and fill them up with pans. Now, when I first got the new box, I took everything out of both of them and I looked at the way that everything had been soldered and put together, and the construction is pretty much the same as the older version. Both very well made boxes, in fact. They're quite strong. Even the plastic is identical in every way. This one's probably yellowed a little bit, but it's the same sort of grade and thickness of plastic. You know, the attention to detail is absolutely fantastic, really. One other thing I did notice was the original had a smaller lid on it compared to the new version. But like I said, apart from a few little tiny details like that, it's virtually identical, you know, in every way. So the main differences are, this is plated brass, it's made in China, it's slightly less ornate than the original version, but completely equals it with functionality, build quality, weight, comfort and everything like that. And like I say, the original version is solid brass, it's made in England, and you get these extra slide out trays with it. And one other little thing I forgot to mention as well, they both come with little rubber pads underneath the box, so you can sit it on a desk, it doesn't slide around and it's not going to get scratched or anything like that. Both versions came with a leaflet. Well, the newer version did. It comes with a leaflet there in the box, you know, explaining how to use it, how to take care of it and everything. My original version didn't actually come with that leaflet, but I did actually get a handwritten letter from Frazer Price explaining, you know, how to, well, basically exactly what it says in the leaflet, you know, just how to use this, how to take care of it, etc. So that's a really nice sort of personal touch. Obviously I'd rather have the handwritten letter there. And also when I was chatting with Frazer Price, This is like 10 years ago, so I'm trying to remember, what we said. I vaguely remember him saying that he passed this design on to Winsor and Newton for them to make this box. They liked it, but they thought it was maybe a little bit too ornate, too posh, and they didn't actually take it on. But what they'd done, they kind of took the idea, and you've all seen these, this is the Winsor and Newton field box. So Winsor and Newton kind of took the idea and based this around this design. So that's, where this came from originally, this design. And I can remember saying to him that you really should make these boxes again because they're brilliant. And I'm really pleased to see 10 years later these back in production again. As soon as I saw them, I had to buy. I bought one instantly. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this. It was on sale again. I've used it several times on Patreon. I've even done a full review on Patreon of both of these boxes. I talk a lot more about it over there. So yeah, I'm really pleased this is back in production again because it's nice to be able to use it without being precious about it like I would be with this one. So it's just so beautiful. It's like an heirloom or something to be never used but just passed down. It's so beautifully made, solid brass. It looks like a priceless antique or something. It's really, you've really got to sort of hold one of these and look at it to really appreciate just how nice these are. But like I say, it's great now because these are available now at Jackson's and Ken Bromley Art Supplies. They're £100 approximately. You can buy different configurations. You can buy them just as an empty box, or you can buy them with just 1 or 2 rows or even 3 rows of pans in there, depending which shop you go to get them. But just for the empty box on its own without any pans, it's £100. So who would this box be designed for then? Well, obviously, people that are travelling, as Frazer Price was, he designed this whole thing to be used on aeroplanes, trains, that kind of thing. Ideal for that. I'd also say it's a brilliant box as well for the urban sketches. It might not be the lightest weight watercolour box or travel box that you've used, but I think it's probably one of the most functional. You've got a lot more mixing space than you have with the Winsor & Newton box. You can hold a larger quantity of paint than you can with the Winsor & Newton box and a lot of other boxes that I've seen, urban sketches using and people sketching outside with watercolours. So it holds quite a lot of paint, water, and you've got a fair amount of mixing space there. You've got 2 decent sized flat mixing areas there with this little bit just here. These are a little bit deeper on the bottle, so you could actually mix a fair bit of wash in there, I'd imagine. You can on these as well. I mean, they are sort of slightly dished. There's a lip around there, so it's not going to run off or anything. So for me personally, I mean, I've used this several times now, and I haven't found any problems with, feeling limited of palette mixing space or anything like that. I think you're going to be okay to use something like this up to an A4 size painting. It's going to be more than adequate and absolutely perfect for an A5 painting, a travel journal style painting. There's only one feature that this has got, and that is the capacity to hold a brush or several brushes. There's nowhere to store any brushes in here, but I've never found that a problem. I mean, the brush that you get with this is only a size 2 anyway. It's only a very small brush and that's all you can store there. I think most people nowadays, when they go out and about painting, they're going to have a small selection of brushes, just 2 or 3, brushes, and they'll probably keep them in their art bag or in their pocket or something like that. I tend not to keep brushes in my watercolour boxes anyway. I tend to keep them separate, so I don't find it an issue not being able to store a brush in there. So let's take a quick look at it in use then. So this is a little sketch that I've done for Patreon. It's done on a Paul Rubens watercolour block. It's hot press paper. It's just a quick sketch, but you can see that, I held the box all the way through the painting. Like I say, it wasn't heavy at all. I could have carried on for the rest of the afternoon painting with that box. Like I say, it's really comfortable and it's a nice weight to hold, and honestly a joy to use as well. So after it had been used a few times, there's no problems to report. The palette does bead up when you first get it, but I found that if you go over that with a magic eraser or some brush cleaning soap or even some toothpaste. I didn't try the toothpaste. A combination of the magic eraser and some brush soap done the job. I just lightly went over it and the paint stopped beading up on there. So all in all, a brilliant little travel watercolour box. In fact, it's my favourite one, and this is the one that I'm going to be using now all the time. So there we go, there's the review and comparison of the old versus the new. Hope that was helpful to you. Like I say, I'll leave links in the description below, to places where you can get the new one if you're interested, or if you've already got one and used one. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I always read your comments. Be nice to know what you think of this. Okay, so take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.